Hello everyone and welcome to the next video on this channel. My name is Peps and this video was never originally planned, and it's something that just came to my mind at like 1 a.m. in the morning when I was studying, because I just couldn't think about the last weekend Pro Wrestling Noah had with their two big anniversary shows at Kenoh, and especially the two GHC Heavyweight Title matches that they had between OZAWA and Kenoh on day one, as well as KENTA versus Kenoh on night two. And I wanted to talk a bit about these two matches because, in my opinion, these two matches show perfectly the entire difference between what Noah is these days, between the more comedic side of matches that OZAWA has as world champion, while Kenoh and KENTA together had the most traditional match you can have in a Pro Wrestling Noah ring for the Pro Wrestling Noah style and what it was originally meant to be. So in this video, I just want to quickly talk about these two matches and show you guys the differences between those two matches in terms of the style, in terms of the presentation, as well as the characters inside of them, as well as what I not only believe is better, but also why I enjoy in certain ways both of them. So let's get started with the first of the two. On day one, we had OZAWA defending his GHC Heavyweight Championship against Kenoh. It was his 7th defense of his first run that started on January 2nd, I believe, where he defeated Kaito Kiyomiya in a one hell of a main event. In my opinion, the best wrestling match that he's ever worked, because it was the entire atmosphere of this match was just tremendous and something I personally haven't seen in a while in a Pro Wrestling Noah ring. That's something, a performance of someone like OZAWA shocked me as much as they did back then. Ever since he had some solid defenses against the Manabo Soyas, Masakita Miyas, Galeno of the worlds, and I think the second Kaito Kiyomiya match was better in ring-wise to the first one. It was still like a bit below, simply because he didn't have the atmosphere of the first one. And then it all built up to this one against Kenoh. And I believe the entrances alone showed where this is going, with like Kenoh being flanked by Oka, Sasaki, and Kenta, his two stablemates, being as serious as you can get, locked in, no real bullshit, like the typical Kenoh way, where you can see a little bit of the bullshit in him, but he just has this confidence in him, is locked in, and just wants to go out there and fight. Meanwhile, OZAWA comes out looking a bit more unserious, right? He isn't like totally unfazed, and he still has a serious look on his face, but he still does his antics to instantly provoke Kenoh and works to the crowd to get them involved from the very beginning. This match in general had like two wrestlers in it with totally different wrestling philosophies and totally different visions of Pro Wrestling Noah is supposed to be. And that is the most important part about not only this match, but also the match on night two. Because while Kenoh, and that is kind of the irony in this, while Kenoh is not a true-born Noah wrestler, and originally debuted in Michinoku Pro and then made this jump to Pro Wrestling Noah around a decade ago, he lives and breathes Pro Wrestling Noah like nearly no one else. Meanwhile, OZAWA, who debuted in Pro Wrestling Noah, like, he is a dojo guy. He should be breathing Pro Wrestling Noah as much, if not more, than Kenoh, but he's everything that Noah isn't meant to be: comedic, over the top, disrespectful, and new generation style of wrestling. He calls Pro Wrestling Noah Pro Wrestling OZAWA. He believes that Noah is a dead company and it should be reformed in his ways. And I believe the instant styles clash in terms of the philosophies got me right into both of these characters. And exactly that was shown right at the beginning of the match, where OZAWA takes out camera to film Kenoh and like make a video of him, which was part of the bit that built up the match. That was OZAWA kind of making light fun of the YouTube channel that Kenoh has, that is, I would say, pretty much well known, where he has different kind of guests and all of that, and even had a produced show earlier this year that sold out Kenoh. And OZAWA kind of made fun of it in the build-up, and he instantly implanted it into the match itself from the very beginning. Meanwhile, like other wrestlers that have this comedic, like the comedic side of them, even Kenoh, like they do the bits, but they really rarely to never include them in their matches. Meanwhile, Ozawa makes them part of his matches, and I think that is something that makes people not connect with his matches, and I can totally understand it. Like this comedic side in wrestling matches, especially in these serious top world heavyweight title situations like this one, I can totally understand if you say, hey, look, I just want serious wrestling. But I think for the importance of what this match was supposed to tell, as well as the other match on day 2, I think it was like perfectly done. And while, I need to add that while Ozawa had the comedic side to him, something that he still has is his dominance, as he was able to beat every wrestler in his way so far in singles matches to this exact match, except for one person, and that is his opponent, Kenoh. They had a singles match in January as a follow-up to the big Kaito vs. Kenoh match, and that ended via no contest because Kenoh was actually very close to beat Ozawa with the Kenoh special with his submission move. But Team 3000X ran in and threw the match away. And that is something that has followed Ozawa ever since this match, because while he was able to beat everyone in his way, I wouldn't call it like a loss because it was no contest, but in his mind it was still a loss, and the people knew he would have lost the match. So he still needs to right this only wrong that he has ever since coming back from his excursion, right? And this was his chance. The beginning stretch had a good control phase of Ozawa. While he did his bullshit, like he mocked Kenoh multiple times, banged him while he was in the Paradise Lock, or picked up the camera to film the girl sitting on the commentary table that the character Ozawa has a crush on, is a bit like, it's a silly bit, you know. It still had like the Ozawa-isms. He also tried to break dance with Kenoh interfered to break dance on his own, which is also something important. While Kenoh believes in the Noah way and believes and wants it what it was, once it backed what it was. He also has a comedic side to him, but in comparison to Ozawa, he just uses it totally different, and it isn't to mock his opponent, but to give them payback in a way. And he did it with the breakdance. It was kind of a silly breakdance. It didn't look good, so Ozawa just interfered and did it in way better. Then we reached already the middle stretch of the match where we had some good wrestling, and that was the part where Team 3000X started to interfere whenever Kenoh had momentum, including towards like nearly the 15 to 20 minute mark, where Yoshitatsu pulled out the ref after a professional foot stomp, the PFS, one of the many finishes that Kenoh has, which was a great interference spot, to be honest. I think these 2.8 count pullouts that also was in the Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega match from All In. I love these ones because they always get me, especially when they are filmed, like here, in a way where you don't really see that Yoshitatsu standing there pulling him out, but you just see the count and you think, okay, will he kick out? Will he kick out? But instead you have the ref pull out, and I think it's always like very well done from a production side as well. That led then to Team 3000X running in and taking out KENTA, but taking out Kenoh, but KENTA and Okazaki cleared out the ring. So it then was just in the ring Kenoh, Ozawa, as well as Jack Morris, who is still the supposed to be leader 2000X. Ozawa then held Kenoh in a way where just Jack Morris can hit him with a lariat, but Kenoh ducks. So Jack Morris accidentally hits Ozawa with a lariat, and then Kenoh instantly went for the Kenoh special, but Ozawa rolled out of it, hit Kenoh with a low blow to even fix up by stealing Kenoh's PFS for another near fall. That was pretty much the moment where the momentum was on both sides, so it was pretty much an even game throughout the whole match. I think that while Ozawa had an answer for everything that Kenoh has, which was seen in the spot after, where Ozawa went for the Real Rebel attempt, the Phoenix Splash, Kenoh rolled away from it, but was clocked with a spinning heel kick and a pellet kick in a row, which was like the perfect example of how much of this match went. That Ozawa's in-ring IQ was what kept him alive in most of this match. Shortly after then, Ozawa went for another kick, but this time Kenoh connected with his high kick, clocked Ozawa, and the ref instantly checked on him, and this was a thing that was happening throughout the match itself, that they always checked on potential knockout finishes. And I was wondering why they did that, but then it was exactly shown why. Because when Ozawa went up, Kenoh connects with a super octopus kick right into the face, wants to go for the bust down, picking up. The ref checks on Ozawa, checks a bit, and then calls instantly for the belt for a TKO finish. And with that, Kenoh is the new GHC Heavyweight Champion, ends Ozawa's 199-day-long reign, and becomes a 4-time champion, which makes him tied for second, together with Takashi Sugiura and Naomichi Marufuji, with the most GHC Heavyweight title runs ever. Only Go Shiozaki with 5 have more than him. For the finish, a TKO finish is always like pretty risky, because a bad TKO finish can look just bad because the kick needs to connect. And here it did really well connected. It was just right into the face, and Ozawa really sold it well. I didn't like the finish at first when I watched it live, but after rewatching the match to do this video, I thought it was really great done, and it will help Kenoh's match moving forward, as TKO finishes are now like legit possible. Like, you can see one of his kicks and oh, he won the belt via TKO against Ozawa. Maybe this is the TKO finish as well, when the ref starts checking on him, on his opponent, which will help the dramatic of his matches, as well as make his kicks more impactful. We will see part of that also in the KENTA match that followed the day after. Meanwhile, they originally teased a strategy job for Ozawa, but he was able to get out on his own with the help of 2000X. So while many, me included, thought, okay, maybe this was not the originally planned finish, because Kenoh clearly was the originally planned winner, but maybe they had a different finish in mind, because Kenoh sold this finish like a legit jog, as he didn't know he would be winning at that exact moment. And that's why the finish, in my opinion, was very well done from a shocking perspective that just no one expected it. Still, Ozawa seems to be fine. He cut a promo the day after, said that the referee was bribed and started his typical bits. But I think from a perspective in terms of the booking, I think that was also like very well done to take the belt off him here, because the truth is Ozawa just beat everyone on his way to get there. Like, he beat Kaito Kiyomiya, he beat Masaki Kitamiya, Masaki Kitamiya, Manabu Soya, Galeno, he beat Tetsuya Endo, he beat Takashi Sugiura, and now he also had the chance to beat, of course he beat Kenta, but he also now had the chance to beat Kenoh, the only guy he hasn't beaten yet, and Kenoh just beats him. So Kenoh pretty much is the only guy in this promotion with some relevance that is unbeaten against Ozawa. And I think telling that even someone like as dominated as Ozawa has a kryptonite in Kenoh is a really cool story to tell, and something that a lot of wrestling promotions do with these younger guys. That a different example for that is, for example, what New Japan tried to do with Yodatsuji and Sanada. It totally backfired because Sanada just had his injuries and became this House of Torture geek. So the win over him doesn't mean that much for Yodatsuji, as it was originally planned. But I think this one has legit potential to be, okay, Kenoh is now the guy to beat for Ozawa. And I think that is something that is told better than just giving, Kenta the belt on day 2 or giving it the belt to Sumo like other expected or would have booked it. Because with that, you also not only save the second match for the GHC Heavyweight title between Kenta and Ozawa, but also give a Kenoh a legit main event story over the next few years that he can always crap himself onto, as well as don't make Ozawa look too dominant from the very beginning. Because Okada also had it, right? He just instantly beat Tanahashi in the Rainmaker Shock, but he also then had the story where he needed to work to beat Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome for multiple years. And even when a young guy, when you book him dominant, he needs still something that he needs to overcome. Otherwise, he's just a OP wrestler that is going to be very boring to follow moving forward after some time, because he just has beaten everyone and he's constantly beating them. So there's that. Then after the match, they set up Kenoh versus KENTA for night 2, and that is the match we're jumping in right now. Kenoh versus KENTA for the GHC Heavyweight Championship, day 2 of the 25th anniversary show. And to start off the coverage of this match, I want to quote Stu Fulton. Shout out to him at this point in the video. He said, during the entrances of both Kenoh and KENTA, he said, "This is more than a match. This is a battle for Noah's soul." And I think this is the best way to describe this match. It was seen from the very, very beginning, because both those guys were locked in. Both are beloved of the crowd. And from the very first moment on, it was hard-hitting, no bullshit. Slaps, kicks, strikes it all through the curtain hole, with a tension building up between the two faction mates. You instantly saw that this match is going to be a traditional Noah main event from the very beginning. This is what those guys believe Noah is supposed to be. Hard-hitting and just go for each other. And the build-up of this match was fantastic, because KENTA was clearly in control of Kenoh and outstruck him at every opportunity. They had cool striking exchanges at the beginning, and KENTA won pretty much all of them. And it makes sense because, of course, Kenoh already had a grueling 20-minute main event match in him after the match against OZAWA the night before. So KENTA was the one dominating here, while Kenoh was, of course, working from underneath. The spots of the match were really well placed at exact right times to pick up the pace, and you notice that both of these guys just know how to build up these kind of matches. All of the spots were perfectly placed in a way to get the match from one stage to the other. And I think this transition is always a very tough and thin line that you either can make really good or just very confusing and maybe place it a bit too early, a bit too late. But these two have made it possible to get to these spots at the exact right moments. And here it was the PFS to the ringside, for example, at around the 15-minute mark. That was the total game changer that got the match from the very hard beginning phase, where both of these guys were cheated on, where both of these guys were pretty much around 50-50, with KENTA having a bit of an advantage, to a great ending stretch that went on for the next 10 minutes. It was followed up with KENTA also hating the PFS on on Kenoh after OZAWA already stolen last night, which is kind of cool because both KENTA and OZAWA did pretty much the same thing, but used it differently, right? KENTA did the PFS to get his way back into the match. Meanwhile, OZAWA did it to just mock Kenoh. So seeing two of the guys stealing a move back-to-back nights for the same belt against the same guy, but with different motivations, is just the little things that show how different these two matches were laid out. That then started a tremendous kicking stretch, and the first TSTs from KENTA that already happened shortly after, but Kenoh was barely able to escape that. That was then followed up with another dropkick to the corner, and then KENTA hit the first GTS to one hell of a near fall as Kenoh kicked really, and I mean really kicked out at 2.99. Like the ref already had his hand on the mat, but Kenoh just barely was able to get the shoulder up. The crowd was insane from that moment on. They really bought every single near fall that it was, and I totally can understand it. Like, I watched it live. I woke up at I don't know, 6:20 a.m. or something. I know when it started, like right into the entrances of the match, because I wanted to be up for the G1 climax. I didn't even know the match was on so early. I expected it to be on after G1, but I make mistakes sometimes with the time. And I was totally into it at nearly 7 a.m. Was rocking for these two for every single near fall, because I really wanted to see how this match ends and when it ends. Shortly after, Kenoh was able to surprise KENTA by getting him into the Kenoh special, and they milked the rope break really well. Kenoh is really fantastic with getting his Kenoh special in, his submission, his crossface in at the exact right moments, and KENTA also Mick did like fantastically. He sold that to death. It looked like the points he was able to pass up, but he was able to reach the bottom rope with his foot at the very last moment. And I like that because the crowd really bought the struggle. And I think that's always like one of the most important parts. Kenoh then used the momentum to get great near falls in with the PFS from the top rope, and then followed it up by going for the Enrin once again, which is like his PFS, but with a moonsault stomp, pretty much, to finish it off. But just like early in the match, KENTA once again had an answer for it as he escaped it into hitting a Busaiku knee strike, followed it up with another Busaiku knee strike to another 2 count. The match had hit then the 25-minute mark as a thrilling slap exchange between the two that KENTA just won, and that spoke perfectly for the entire match, as KENTA was able to win every single deciding moment in this match. He was clearly the better wrestler on this night. Maybe it was because he had the day off the day before pretty much and just worked an undercard match, or if he just is the more skilled wrestler between the two, or better said, the more skilled striker between the two. Like every single 50-50 sequence in this match was won by him, and that slap exchange was basically the final momentum that shifted for him to get the match done. KENTA followed it up with brutal head kicks and hit the second GTS to win the match and to win the GHC Heavyweight Championship for the second time, or for the first time in 11 long years. In my opinion, the best match Kenoh had all year. And I need to say this, and I didn't expect to ever say this again. KENTA is legitimately a great wrestler again. He was someone, and I'm not kidding about this, I think everyone will agree with me. He was someone that was seen as one of the worst and most boring wrestlers in the world for a big part of his late New Japan run, where he was just this comedy guy having nothing matches in Bullet Club that like just did barely anything interesting. Like how many, and I'm asking it right now while I look up myself, how many matches of KENTA, and maybe the listeners can answer this in the comments, how many KENTA matches in New Japan ever since 2020 to 2025, how many of them did you enjoy and think, okay, this was nearly as good as this one? I would find like 2 or 3 matches, maybe. Like I would say the match against, I think it was one of the matches against Zack Sabre Jr. were fantastic in the G1 Climax. In general, I would say at least he had at least one good match in every G1 Climax pretty much. The one against Will Ospreay, especially in 2023, was one that stood out. And outside of that, he had a lot of these very boring, sluggish matches. Like one of the matches that always comes to my mind when I think about really bad KENTA matches was the one against Sonata in the 2023 New Japan Cup that went like 30 minutes that nobody cared about. I think like Dave rated it like 2 stars or something, which is like untypical for basically just a main event style New Japan match. But ever since he returned to pro wrestling Noah against Kenoh, funny enough, the guy he just beat here for the GHC Heavyweight title, he felt like a totally new wrestler. The motivation, the fire, the skill. It feels like that KENTA is back at his very best. And it was clearly seen in this match. He was tremendous, he was phenomenal, and he had his best performance in years. A well-deserved win for KENTA, who will now carry Noah into the second half of the year as the heart of the promotion. Meanwhile, for Kenoh, it's obviously kind of sucking for him that he once again has a transitional reign, as his clear role in Noah is that he gets the belt to make a new star. He had 4 reigns with the belt, and not one of them went over 100 days. I think in terms of defenses, like V2, V0, V2, and now V0 again, with the shortest GHC Heavyweight title reign of all time with just 1 day. And even still, when he feels like he's transitional champion, he still feels like a wrestler that carries Noah on his back whenever he is allowed to. And he did that in this weekend where he had 2 great performances, two totally different great performances with each other. And like I said, this traditional thing of Kenoh is like not something new. When we go through his title wins, there's always like a clear pattern of him winning the belt from an outsider and a heel that don't believe in the way pro wrestling Noah is, with Eddie Edwards, Satoshi Kojima, Jack Lee, and even Ozawa, and why he lost the belt every single time to someone who breathed pro wrestling Noah. And he feels like kind of the bridge between the outside heels to, okay, this is pro wrestling Noah. And yes, I count Elio the Dr. Wagner Jr. as someone who breathes Noah, because I also think Kenoh breathes Noah. So I think Kenoh's role here was perfectly also shown in his Noah history and in these two main events, and I think that is very important to point out too. So now to come to the original point of the video, to show the difference between the new era and the traditional Noah way. And I want to first to point it out with the OZAWA main event. The OZAWA main event against Kenoh was I would describe it as a sports entertainment Japanese main event style, with all the antics of OZAWA that makes him dividing the fan base. Like, if you're asking on the timeline, on Twitter, on other platforms, even here on YouTube, like in the comments, how do you feel about OZAWA? I think around 50% will say I love him, and 50% will say I don't like his style. And I totally get that. Like, he is dividing. And still, I think everyone agrees with me that he's the reason why the attendances in pro wrestling Noah increased by so much. This was the two shows, of course, both sold out. That's the 6th sold out Kenoh that Noah had in 2025. 6 out of 8. And the other two numbers were like 1,200 and I think 1,300 something. So nearly to a sellout. I would need to check that, but I don't think they have sold out like 5 or like 6 Hurricanes in like 7 months for the past, I don't know, a decade or so, likely, outside of maybe light up numbers, but I need to check that stat before I need. But it feels like they haven't, at least since the pandemic started, haven't sold out 6 Hurricanes in a year. Meanwhile, the match of KENTA against Kenoh was exactly what Noah was always about. And traditional main event with slaps, stiffness, toughness, and showing hard. With Kenta Kobashi watching ringside, like, this is just pro wrestling Noah. If you want to show someone what pro wrestling Noah is originally supposed to be, and you want to show them a current match, I think this heavyweight championship match between Kenta and Kenoh is perfectly that. A super well worked, tough weight match that showed the heart. They showed what they want. They showed that they love and breathe pro wrestling Noah. And I think it was super well done between both of them. So, to the question, what is better? Well, that is just your personal taste in the end. Personally, I like the more traditional style match more because it just feels more natural and it is what Noah is supposed to be as a promotion, and also just is what I want to see in wrestling. While I enjoy Ozawa's run more than most, it has a very clear limits in terms of like the match quality that it can reach, because the truth is people are just very tired of TV 2000X interferences, as well as just, it's not only TV 2000X, it's also House of Torture, Hate, Darkness Revolution, like Zebrats. You can count these huge stables up to like 10 in Japanese pro wrestling right now. Even in AEW, you have the Death Riders. Even in WWE, you have like the Seth Riders, for example, or even the Bloodline, where you have constant interferences. So I can totally understand that interference wrestling isn't just for everyone these days. And I think there's a clear difference between good interferences, bad interferences. And as Ozawa Reign had many good interferences, but also like very much annoying interferences. It's all about the match, right? Personally, as I said before, I loved the first match against Kaito Kiyomiya, as well as this match against Kenoh. I didn't really mention it. I think this was, in-ring wise, one of his best matches of the entire run, and also one of the best matches of Noah's entire year. Meanwhile, the Kenoh vs. Kenta match, which was like the real first Noah heavyweight main event style without any interferences, instantly cleared like everything Ozawa has done in terms of like pure in-ring work, and it showed how great a Noah main event can be. I think that was the best Noah match all year, and it's not even close in my opinion. In general, this weekend showed the difference in style that Noah can put in the main events and still make it work in a perfectly, and it's the perfect way to show an audience at the Double Show Korakuen Hall to celebrate the 25th anniversary what pro wrestling Noah is these days. It's not only this traditional style Noah main event match that we have seen countless times in fantastic matches, but also this more response entertaining main event style of match that still works and still gets the crowd hooked. Both of these matches had a sold out crowd. I think day 2 had like 4 fans less, but doesn't really matter that much. And I think this is exactly what you want to see from Pro Wrestling Noah in terms of like a diversity in a way, and they showed it perfectly here to celebrate 25 years existence. They had very high highs, but also very, very lows, like lows, especially the last couple of years before OZAWA came along, and as well as KENTA coming back. It were really rough times. It's been like really, really rough times. So seeing them selling out Hikaruke back to back is a huge achievement for them, and all 3 members in the main event, Kenoh, OZAWA, and KENTA, should be very proud of what they have done in these 2 matches. I want to quickly give you my overall thoughts about what happens next with GHC Heavyweight Title, as well as how I feel about the 2 booking decisions here. And I think, as I said before, the building up Kenoh to be the kryptonite of OZAWA was a great choice, and instantly getting the belt to, in my opinion, the second biggest star that Noah has right now in terms of drawing power with KENTA makes perfectly sense when you look forward to what Pro Wrestling Noah has coming up next. And that is not only the N1 victory, but also a Sumo Hall show at the weekend, like 2 days before King of Pro Wrestling, which is like one of the biggest New Japan shows in the fall. So they will pretty much counterbook that and fight for every single ticket sale. Even though like New Japan obviously has the advantage that it will be Tanahashi's final Sumo Hall appearance, but that's like out of the thing. And I was thinking about, okay, what could be looking forward to the next big match for that? But first of all, we have KENTA versus Naomichi Marufuji set up for that exact show for the next Korakuen Hall show in August. I think that will be a great match. Them running it back one more time sounds like a cool thing. They have predicted matches so far in terms of singles competition. They have like faced each other a couple of times in tag matches, but they haven't in singles matches since KENTA came back. And I'm excited for that. Like, the matches in the past were classics. I don't think they will be able to reach that, because Marufuji is just not the wrestler anymore he was a decade ago. Same for KENTA, but KENTA has still a way to find his way back into having great matches. I have really enjoyed Marufuji that much, but I will still look forward to it simply because of nostalgia reasons. And I think it's a cool V of 1. Then we have the N1 victory, and likely the winner will challenge at Sumo Hall. And in my opinion, the best guy to step into the main event scene against KENTA in the main event of Sumo Hall to show the fans what Pro Wrestling Noah is would be the guy who screams that I am Noah, that he is Noah. And that, in my opinion, would be the perfect pick. It would be KENTA heading as champion, and Go Shiozaki, who announced his return to Pro Wrestling Noah after his torn ACL injury for August, that he comes back, wins the M1 victory, and challenges KENTA in possibly the first biggest match that they can run right now. Because while KENTA versus KENTA versus OZAWA 2 would be big, it's still a match I have already run at Sumo Hall. So there aren't many options left. I don't think Kaito should win the N1 again and challenge KENTA. I think they should give him a little bit of a breather right now and let him do something different. So Go Shiozaki would be my pick for that, and I would be really looking forward to that. With that, I quickly want to say thank you for listening to this video. As I said before, I just made it out of fun because I really loved the 2 main event matches and wanted to talk about it here at like 2 a.m. now. So have a good evening, have a good morning, or have a good night whenever you're watching. Tomorrow I will be uploading the G1 Day 3 review, which will be a little bit late because, of course, I have exams still coming up and I still do this bullshit. I don't know. And With then, bye bye.